Rightio, welcome to the patch of bushland outside my campsite here in Bustleton of Western Australia. We're going to do an outdoor shoe review today of the Adidas SL2. This is a budget trainer that released halfway through last year. I've now done over 130 Ks of running in it. Probably should have reviewed it a while ago, but we're going to get around to it now. Give you the full details, upper through to outsole. We'll chat about the price point, the value, its competitors, give you all the details that are relevant. So yeah, going to get into it. So this is a budget trainer. It's coming in at $180 here in Australia, and we've got some surprisingly nice materials underfoot. We've got a full slab of Lightstrike Pro, which is wrapped up in their regular Lightstrike EVA training foam. That's going to be coming in at a stack height of 36mm of foam in the heel with a 9 or 10mm drop. Seen it quoted as either. Does still feel like a high drop shoe in terms of the pitching forward and the kind of flatter forefoot as well. Weighs in at 253 grams and my main size 10.5 as well. So it's on the lighter side of things. It's lighter than most speed trainers like the Boston, the Zoom Fly, the DV8 Nitro 3, but it's not quite racing weight, which are kind of in at around the 230 grams for my size. So yeah, it's light. Definitely lighter than most daily shoes, but not quite racing weight just yet. We'll start off with the upper of this shoe, which I would say is probably the one giveaway that this shoe is a budget option, which is often the case. You can get some good midsoles, get some good outsoles, but often the upper is a bit sloppy. Unfortunately, that is the case here. And the main problem I would say is the gaping around the ankle collar. When you lace this shoe up, it is quite easy to kind of lock it down, but once you get moving and the shoe flexes, you can almost see it on camera there, the ankle collar kind of gapes out and leaves your ankle sliding around, I guess. So the ankle lockdown in this shoe is a little bit tricky to find, and because it kind of opens up, it doesn't offer a really stable, secure fit. So if that's something that you're really concerned about, that is something to be wary of with this shoe. The rest of the shoe is comfortable enough, I would say. We've got plenty of padding in and around the heel counter. Good level of structure for a lightweight daily trainer, I would say. Padded across the tongue, which does just enough to kind of offset these cheap kind of cheese wire laces that Adidas just keep on using. Really think they benefit from some sawtooth laces here. Would make the fit just that bit easy to find. Might even solve this ankle collar gaping issue as well. I think the fact that the laces are slippery definitely doesn't help. In terms of the fit and sizing, I would say it's true to size, but more on the kind of narrow dialed side of things as a kind of lightweight, nimble daily trainer. You're definitely not getting any extra width on a bit more of a narrow platform. So if you are a wide footer, I probably wouldn't be jumping straight into this, but standard feet, narrow feet are going to get along fine in this shoe. In terms of length, I have gone for a size 10.5, which is not usually what I'd go for in an Adizero shoe. Past models like the Adidas Pro 3, the Takumi Sen 8, 9 and 10 as well, the Prime X. I've always gone the half size down because they fit a half size long, but here the size 10.5 feels about right, and I probably wouldn't go any smaller. So I would go your standard running shoe size. So Asics, Nike, Saucony, On, New Balance. If you're wearing same size in those shoes, I would go for that in this one. I wouldn't trust your standard Adidas size if you've been going out of your way to buy a half size down. So yeah, overall it's a bit of a shoddy upper because of the ankle gaping. I don't think it's a deal breaker. It is just a bit of a drawback, which will come up especially when we get to the comparisons, but overall it's doing just enough to kind of keep you on the midsole, but not doing a fantastic job. But again, 180 bucks, that can be forgiven when we get down to the midsole. So getting down to the midsole, we have a full length slab of Lightstrike Pro, which is their top end racing foam. A TPEE compound is the kind of speculated compound that a lot of people think it is. And that's wrapped up in an EVA carrier foam, which is a pretty standard setup that we're starting to see across the market, at least the dual density. So you get the kind of deep, dense bounce out of the Lightstrike Pro, but it's kind of softened up, given a bit more of a mellow feel because of this Lightstrike EVA. It's really good to see Adidas get in control of the Lightstrike foam as well, because in the past it used to be quite a harsh, kind of unforgiving foam. In the Boston even, it's still quite a firm foam that really needs breaking in. Here it's much softer, much more compressive, definitely doesn't take as much time to really open up and allow you to get some comfort and squish out of it. The combination of these two foams, I would say overall, is soft, smooth, with a nice dense, gentle rebound, but it's not super fast, I would say. It definitely is still suited to the kind of daily training, maybe up-tempo paces if you're really keen, but it just has a nice, yeah, comfortable, simple jogging shoe kind of attitude, which I really appreciate. It is a fairly traditional geometry as far as the current market goes, with a 10mm drop, flat forefoot, bit more flexibility through there as well. So a lot of people might not be used to a shoe like this. They're probably expecting high stacks, rockers, a bit more stiffness, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but I do think that if we're going to talk about shoe rotations and variation, making sure that you're kind of giving your bones, muscles, tendons and joints some different load, different stimulus, this is the kind of shoe that I think is missing from a lot of people's rotations. And so I think it could give people, yeah, that kind of different stimulus to really change things up within their weekly running sessions. I've really appreciated the change up. I think it's a breath of fresh air amongst the current crop of daily trainers, but I can also acknowledge that some people might not immediately be drawn to it when it doesn't have all of those characteristics which make most shoes so comfortable right now. For me, the kind of perfect run for this shoe is a kind of half an hour, 40-minute jog with a little bit of a pickup towards the end when I'm feeling fresh. Because of the flatter geometry, because of the kind of thinner base, a little bit of instability due to the upper hold, it's not a shoe that I'm reaching for if I'm feeling sore and beaten up. It's definitely one where I'm kind of feeling up and about and I can kind of get out the door, attack the pace a little bit, like kind of get rolling in my daily training. That's the run that I'm picking this shoe for. I'm probably not taking it up over the 50 to an hour mark for my daily training runs. I do still find that I kind of flatten it out a bit and I do feel like my legs are a bit beaten up. But for those kind of, yeah, that sweet spot of half an hour, 40 minutes, feeling fresh, this shoe goes an absolute treat. I do also think that there's something to be said for a kind of first time speed tempo shoe. This could be a really good option for a lot of beginners because it's kind of simple, flexible, doesn't have anything seriously wacky going on, but it's lightweight. It's got a good level of rebound with the Light Strike Pro core. It can push the pace if you want it to, so there's something to be said for that as well. I think this is a really high quality riding shoe. It definitely outperforms its price point in many, many ways with the ride, with the kind of density that you get. The durability of this foam is going to be fantastic. I can already say that with the Light Strike Pro core. It's just not going to die off as quickly as some of the more lightweight, flexible daily trainers like a Rebel, a Mark 6. So yeah, I'm really happy with how this ride has performed. Feels much better than the price point would suggest. Moving down to the outsole, we don't have Continental rubber, unfortunately, but we do have a really healthy helping of the Adizero rubber, which is quite thick in its application here. I would say that we have a good 2 or 3 mil and some decent tread as well. I would say that I haven't really had an opportunity to test it in the rain. It's probably rained about 4 or 5 times since I've had this shoe, and I haven't been waiting at the door to take this shoe out and test out its wet weather performance. But so far, grip on dry pavement and kind of running past sprinklers has been fine, hasn't been noticeably slippery. I don't think it's quite as good as Continental rubber or Puma grip or any of those other ones, but it's not wasting away, and I think the durability overall, especially with such thickness, is going to be pretty good. Chatting about the price point again, I think that this is a fantastic value shoe. It's got to be up there for one of the best price point to performance ratios that I've experienced in the last couple of months, and I really do think that this is well thought out. You get the softness from the Light Strike, you get the rebound from the Light Strike Pro. It's a nice change up against the current market of running shoes with a more traditional flexible ride, which I don't think a lot of people are exposed to anymore. Sure, it's a little bit shoddy in the upper, and I will keep on repeating that, but overall I think that's a small sacrifice to make for a really nice midsole at a good price point with some good durability to be expected as well. The full retail here in Australia is 180 bucks, but you can pick it up for much cheaper, 120, 130 bucks if you look around for a little bit. Definitely hasn't received the hype that it probably deserves. So if you can find it for anything lower than that, I think that is some fantastic value. Fill out your rotation. First time kind of up-tempo speed trainer, if you're just getting into the swing of things, I think this is a fantastic running shoe. Getting into some comparisons, we'll run it past a few which I think are relevant. The Evo SL from Adidas is probably the most intuitive. I think that there's not a huge similarity between these two shoes in terms of the kind of feel underfoot. The Evo SL is more refined, structured, rocketed with a full Light Strike Pro midsole, more stack underfoot. It's definitely stiffer, more direct, more efficient feeling, whereas this is a bit more soft, mellow. You get the flexibility, the 10mm drop. It's definitely more traditional feel, whereas the Evo SL is definitely a modern super trainer, super daily trainer, if you will. Evo SL is a little bit lighter, has a better upper than the SL2. The $240 price tag on the Evo SL, I would say for the performance, is maybe slightly better than the SL2, just because I think that is such a great shoe. But if you can pick this up for anything below 180, then things start to be equal. I would use the Evo SL for longer runs, up-tempo work, anything over 45 or 50 minutes, whereas I'd probably use this shoe for my kind of half an hour, 40-minute easy jog as part of a rotation. Both shoes can exist in the same rotation. They're not kind of overlapping or competing per se, but yeah, that's the kind of comparison that I'd give between those two shoes. The Nike Pegasus Plus is another pretty similar shoe to the SL2 with a full ZoomX midsole compared to a full length slab of Light Strike Pro. The ZoomX in the Peg Plus is a bit snappier, a bit more direct. I feel a little bit more efficient in the Peg Plus, but the SL2 I would say is probably a bit more dense, comfortable, a bit more reassuring for most people who aren't kind of into that more grounded experience, which I've kind of been drawn to lately. I think 260 bucks versus 180, the SL2 is a better value buy, but I will be honest, I still slightly prefer the Pegasus Plus, just because of that kind of nice snap and propulsive feel that I get in my stride. Peg Plus is definitely not for everyone. The SL2 is one I'd recommend over the Peg Plus if you don't really know what you're after. The Hoka Mark 6 is quite similar as well. Similar low weight, but it has a little bit more rocker. The foam is a bit more punchy, responsive, whereas this is again a bit more mellow. You get a bit more sink in, that nice dense response. I think again, this is probably more suited to daily training, whereas the Mark 6 can handle some slower stuff, but definitely feels more comfortable for me, kind of pushing the pace, getting up into tempo and threshold. If I was going to do a 400 or 800 meter repeat session, Mark 6 would be it every day of the week, whereas the SL2, I'm probably only taking this for a run club with mates where I'm pushing the pace halfway through. Again, 260 versus 180 for the SL2. This would be a better value shoe, would probably be the first one that I buy in the rotation, but both can exist as part of the same shoe lineup. Compared to the original Adizero SL, this shoe is a huge improvement. The old SL only had a singular puck of Light Strike Pro up in the forefoot. The rest of the Light Strike foam was extremely firm. So please don't go and buy the original SL thinking that you're getting an even cheaper version of this. It's not the same shoe. It's honestly quite rubbish. So I would avoid that. Definitely get the SL2 because this is softer, smoother, more comfortable. The SL is kind of a shoe that only people with really firm preferences got along with. People who like the Pegasus, really like to feel that kind of hard response from the road. This is a nice blend of modern technologies and that more traditional trainer. Highly recommend this over the original SL. Nova Blast 5 is not really a relevant comparison, but I'll still do it because I know I'll get asked about it. Nova Blast is much softer, much more compressive, comfortable, cruisy, more protective underfoot because it has a fair bit more foam, 41 versus 36. You definitely do notice that underfoot, especially with such a wide base of foam. I would say that most people will probably prefer the Nova Blast for its softness, but if you're after that variation in your rotation, the SL2 is still one that I would recommend. This feels more nimble, you're using your foot and ankle and calf a little bit more as well, and 180 versus 240 bucks. Again, the SL2 with the quality of materials here, I think is just edging out the Nova Blast 5. Wasn't a huge fan of that shoe myself, found it a little bit mushy. This one has a bit more density, which I can get behind. Doesn't feel like I'm bottoming it out or making it feel too mushy through my daily runs. The last one I compare it to will be the Adidas Boston 12, which is a bit more of a firm, aggressive, fast experience underfoot. The Light Strike foam that they use in the heel of that shoe is definitely much firmer, much more dense, requires a lot more braking than this shoe, which was good out of the box. The use of the energy rods in there to give it a bit more stiffness, you definitely do notice, especially when picking up the pace. I would probably say that people who like a softer feel will probably be more drawn towards the SL2, whereas people who want that kind of dense, firm, direct response for your kind of up-tempo daily, long runs, sessions, tempo stuff, a race shoe for a lot of people will still probably be drawn to the Boston 12. I would say that the upper on the SL2, although it's not great with the gaping around the ankle, is still probably more comfortable than the Boston 12. That was a really harsh upper. I didn't really realize it at the time because I was enjoying the midsole so much, but coming away from that shoe, trying on the Evo SL, the SL2, and also having experienced the new Adios Pro 4 upper, I kind of realized how hard and unforgiving it is. So more padding here, this is going to be a more comfortable experience, but if you're ready for that kind of, firm, direct, responsive ride, you don't mind a bit of a stripped down upper, Boston 12 will still probably do a good job. 240 versus 180, Both shoes are going to be a good pickup because the durability is fantastic. For your everyday daily training, this is probably going to be a better pick, but if you're looking to go fast, pick up the pace, then the Boston 12 will still be a better shot for you. Both can exist in the same shoe rotation, as most of these can, but yeah, that would be how I would split those two up. So bringing that all together, I think the Adidas Adizero SL2 is a really fun, lightweight daily trainer, a bit more of a traditional ride underfoot, which we don't get to experience often. The quality of materials here far exceeds the price point, and I think that this shoe deserves a lot more fanfare than it's currently getting. I do think it's kind of slid under the radar because a lot of people don't trust lower price point shoes. They're kind of locked into thinking that you have to pay $260, $300 to really get a good running experience. But I don't think that's going to be true forever. I do think that Adidas, Puma, a few other running brands are slowly starting to trickle some of their really good technologies into their lower price point options. And I really am looking forward to see where this kind of model can move in the next couple of years. So yeah, overall, I think Adidas have pretty much knocked this shoe out of the park, other than a bit of a sloppy upper, some crappy laces as well. I'm very excited to see which direction they take this shoe next. The SL3, I'm very, very excited for. I hope they continue to keep on trickling down these top end technologies, give us something to sink our teeth into without draining the wallets. Good shoe, highly encourage you to check it out. That's about it.